Hi, I'm Heather Moore, and this is the Cable News Roundup for June 25th. I'll start with Fox News and the O'Reilly factor. The show says that while there is a disproportional amount of black poverty in the country, it's not the result of white supremacy. Rather, it's the breakdown of the African American family structure, violence in poor, predominantly African American neighborhoods, and African Americans being held to a different academic standard than their white counterparts. Their guest says that by making statements like this, it negates the experience of African Americans who have suffered from racism in the country. The Supreme Court has ruled that the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, must be implemented in all states in order for these states to get money from the federal government. They say Hillary Clinton is becoming even more liberal in her campaign. And on the Kelly File, Univision will not air the Miss Universe pageant, which Donald Trump produces, because of Trump's racist remarks against Mexicans early last week. The Univision executive tweeted an Instagram photo comparing Trump's hair with the Charleston shooter's hair. Freddie Gray's family attorney is on to say he has seen the autopsy report and talks about who he suspects leaked it to the Baltimore Sun, and the defense attorneys do not have the autopsy reports. Lois Lerner emails have been destroyed in the IRS scandal from last year. Ben Carson says that despite the Supreme Court ruling, Obamacare can be repealed, or at least replaced. And a Dukes of Hazzard actor is on to discuss the crackdown on the Confederate flag. He supports the Confederate flag. On Hannity, the whole show is about Carly Fiorina and her platform as a Republican presidential candidate. Switching over to MSNBC, all in with Chris Hayes. An African-American law professor is a guest to rant that all people with Confederate heritage had ancestors who believed in slavery, and they should be ashamed. The Supreme Court ruled that Obamacare is here to stay. Justice Scalia wrote the dissent, and he was clearly furious with the ruling. The Supreme Court recently ruled that the Texas Department of Housing is guilty of housing discrimination. On the Rachel Maddow Show, the Republican National Committee sent out a mailer for fundraising that looked like a ballot. They have 30 Republican presidential candidates listed. She has a segment celebrating the Obamacare Supreme Court win, and she discusses the fate of gay marriage, something the Supreme Court will be voting on soon. And the last word with Lawrence O'Donnell. There's a segment about a gay couple who have been together for over 50 years. They just recently married, but before marrying one another was legal, one had to legally adopt the other to ensure their right to be a family. The Affordable Care Act is upheld by the Supreme Court, and House Democrats voted to pass the Trade Adjustment Assistance. It will now go to the Senate. This is the legislation which gives the president executive powers on trade, which Elizabeth Warren has been prominently fighting against. So now you know.